Hi, I'm Greg Ulan with Reynolds & Reynolds, and this is Connected. Today I have an in-person guest. I'm very excited to get to sit down with Dr. Kent MacDonald. Dr. MacDonald is the president of Northwood University. Dr. MacDonald, thanks so much for joining me today.
Great to be here.
All right, so Dr. MacDonald, let's dive right in and just kick off. You know, for our audience out there, obviously you are a big part of Northwood University, and for those listening, why would they choose a student or a graduate from Northwood University over another candidate when applying for a job, when looking at resumes, when talking to somebody looking to join their company?
Great question. There's probably a lot of layers to it. So let me just touch on a few. First of all, our type of academic programming, there are great schools across the country. You know, if you're looking for engineers, there's some options there. But I think what Northwood does is have a unapologetic set of values. And so this is not the academic side. These are the things that we think every student should come out with. And it goes back to our founding back in 1959. Where was the country going at that time? I would argue there's elements of the country going in that same direction today. 1959, January 1st, a group of terrorists invaded a country called Cuba, 60-some miles off the coast of Florida. And our founders were concerned about that, and they said, we need to create a university that is committed to what the vision of the founders of the country was. And we have been committed to those ever since. And we wrap all of those things around the Northwood idea, things like free enterprise. I'm probably the only president in the country that has photos of students, Thanksgiving photos, and say, what are you thankful for? And they say capitalism. So we think the private sector, entrepreneurship, limited government, personal property, those are the values that we need to drive the country forward. And on the very first day, literally the very first day that the students arrive at Northwood, they're exposed to these values. And I think that's very different than what happens, quite frankly, on a lot of campuses today. So that's on the value set. And these are young people, Greg, that want to come out, work hard. They understand earned success. Nothing comes easy. And so you're going to get a student with those sets of values. That's one. On the academic side of things, it's been 6 decades since Northwood has committed itself to being the leader in the automotive aftermarket or more broadly the mobility space. And so not only are our students in our pure automotive programs, automotive management, aftermarket, viable candidates, because of the ecosystem that we have at Northwood, having North America's largest outdoor auto show that's fully run by students. So you could be a cybersecurity student, a marketing student, a finance student, supply chain management, etc. Those students are all being exposed to this incredible industry, which that we know as the automotive industry kind of writ large. So I think what we have found, including some of the students that you've hired here, is that there's a real desire to be in this industry. And there's students who leave Northwood, as I would say, shovel ready. They're ready to hit the ground and be committed to the industry and instead of dabbling with it, what's this all about? So I would say those two broad things of a set of values that I think are going to be successful. And we have a leader in the aftermarket. He happens to be an alum, but when we surveyed people, why do you hire Northwood grads? John, I'll go with his first name. John said, Northwood kids want to make money. They want companies to succeed, and they're committed to that. And then you add to that this love of this dynamic time to be in the automotive, mobility space. I think those two things really set us apart.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's great to hear you say that, and the way you frame it up, I really like that too. So those two buckets of, a desire to make money and a love of capitalism, and understanding sort of how business works. So that's one piece of it. And I talk, especially with newer folks at Reynolds, a lot about this idea of intrapreneurship. So, entrepreneurship, you take on all the risk, you take on all the reward. It's very hard, and it's very rewarding, but there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle. And a lot of people have this desire to own a business or to be an entrepreneur, but when you have the opportunity to work inside of our industry, inside the automotive industry, it's a very entrepreneurial industry.
Yeah.
And when you have the support of a company to go try things and to do entrepreneurial things, but with the safety net of a big company, like a Reynolds, when I'm talking internally to folks, or like all of the big companies that are out there, whether it's a large dealer group in the retail sector, whether it's a manufacturer, our industry is I think naturally entrepreneurial. So that idea of entrepreneurship, having the opportunity to do those great things inside of a company, is a perfect fit for students out of Northwood.
Look, sorry to interrupt, but
absolutely.
I would absolutely agree with you because, look, we're a private university in Midland, Michigan, and we can't compete with the deep pockets, particularly of the big publics.
Sure.
But there is one data point that really sets us apart, and it's an incredible piece of data. It's that 1/3 of our alum own their own companies. In other words, you don't become an entrepreneur, and I absolutely agree with you, because there's another 2/3 that don't own their own companies, but they have that same mindset. And I often say to our students, who knows how to ride a bike? They all put up their hand.
Sure.
And I said, so who learned to ride a bike by reading a book? And we know you don't. You have to get on the bike, you fall down, you scrape your knees. That's entrepreneurship and leadership development as well.
Yeah.
And so it's an ecosystem that happens at Northwood. It's not a course that you take called entrepreneurship or a major. It has to be all of these other things wrapped together, including exposing students to the importance of being entrepreneurial and creative people, that Reynolds seeks.
Yeah.
And so I think all of those things together make it really valuable that the graduates coming out of Northwood, we have a series of documents. We say that profit is it's a positive thing.
Sure.
And because of that, that's what makes our communities more prosperous. So when you have students who believe in that and are looking for new ideas to advance existing companies, they're very, very valuable.
Yeah, and you've done a great job, and everybody before you as well. The university as a whole has done a great job of really embedding that into the culture. But one thing that I see, at least from the outside looking in, is a university that's proud to be, I would say, unique, which is interesting that it's unique, but the university has always, but I think under your leadership, has even leaned in more into the idea of America's Free Enterprise University. And that's important. I think it's important for a couple of reasons. One, it attracts the students that you want, right? Like-minded students that are going to come out and represent the university and the university's values well. But it also helps you stand out in I'll call it a marketplace. When you think about students in high school that are looking to go to college, there's, I don't know the number of universities, you probably do. There's a lot of universities in the United States and Canada. There are. And then you go globally and there's, exponentially more. So the ability to be America's Free Enterprise University and lean into that gives you a stake in the ground to be unique and to attract the types of folks that you want to attract.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's about 4,500. Imagine. What people don't talk about, though, is the since 2015 that there have been several hundred who have closed, and why is that? In my view, demographics is only one part of it. Look, I never thought that we would reach a day in this country that 2/3 of Americans now have doubt about the efficacy of higher education. Parents are now asking, is it really worth the investment? Sure. And I think we've done that to ourselves. And I mean, we can go down that path. I'm happy to speak about that. But in terms of positioning Northwood, we won't be for everybody. And that's okay, because there's 4,500 other choices that people can make. But if you want to embrace capitalism and free enterprise and limited government, and we never say no government, but having the freedoms that I think that allow us to flourish as a people in the country, that's the kind of the place Northwood wants to be. And then on top of that, say we also want to lead in the automotive space. You put those two things together, that's our niche. We're going to be the best possible Northwood in that space. And for those who are comfortable with that, we welcome you. And even those students who might come, they may be a legacy student, they may be an athlete, they may compete on one of our academic teams. And when you're 16, 17, 18, you're not a lot of students not even sure what free enterprise even means. But it is transformational that when they go through our sets of programs, because of the Northwood idea, the type of lectures and case studies and experiences that they have, there's very few that would leave Northwood and not have a full grasp and a support for free enterprise. And that's not Northwood. That is 200 years of history on how people flourish. And it's not through socialism. It's not through communism. It's not through big government. It's through young people having the courage to be entrepreneurial or come to a wonderful company like Reynolds and be a positive contributor to that.
Sure. Yeah. So let me ask you, I'm curious what your reaction is. When you think about, we'll just call it a 4-year education or 4-year experience, I hear you talk a lot about, I'm going to classify it, and I don't need to put words in your mouth, but as an experience, right? And as exposure to like-minded people, exposure to faculty, exposure to industry. Now, I'm in no way going to state that education at its core isn't important, but how much of the university experience do you think the value lies in the exposure, and how much lies in the pure education?
Well, it's a balance, but
Sure.
I think, quite frankly, we overrate the academic side. And I say that, every student has the world's knowledge in their back pocket today. And no longer does the person at the front of the classroom contain all of that. In fact, students today are able to pull up things immediately. In fact, I've said to our faculty, if you want me to develop a course for 15 weeks on quantum physics, give me 1 hour and I'll have enough content to fill that. The 4 Ps of marketing at Northwood are the same 4 Ps of marketing at another institution.
Sure.
So those things are important. I think, though, why people are choosing Northwood today, and we're continuing to grow not only as an undergrad but our graduate schools and our online, is because of those other values that we bring and the other experiences that we bring. And so I use that notion of, do you know how to ride a bike? I would do the same thing in terms of developing people and leadership. And leadership is something that, in fact, as I get older, it becomes even more confusing to me. But I spent a lifetime trying to understand it.
Right.
And the best way that we can provide young people the opportunity to lead is to allow them to get on that bike, to give them leadership opportunities and let them fail and let them try new things. It's analogous. So the example that I like to give is our auto show. It happens every September.
And it's a great show.
It's a great show, and it's at no cost. We'll have 50,000 people come on our campus. We'll have 600 vehicles. Our total vehicle valuation last year was nearly $200 million, from Bugattis to my favorite, a 1967 Westphalia Volkswagen.
Nice.
So a full spectrum. But that's the same as one of these big schools, and the president and the administration on a football Saturday says, we're going to sit this out. We're going to hand over the keys to the students. They got to deal with security and logistics and food and marketing and finance, putting that whole weekend together, and hopefully media. Hopefully the football game is going to go well. Of course, that's never going to happen. That's what we do at Northwood for our auto show.
Right.
And we have done that for over 6 decades, and it's just one of many examples of allow these students the opportunity to lead and have experiences. And again, I keep going back to our values, yet underlie it with the foundational principles upon which we stand, and I'm really proud of the type of students that come out of Northwood.
Yeah. I've got to meet and work with and interact with a lot of those students, and they're always impressive. Everyone, it never fails. I haven't met a single one where I'm like, I didn't enjoy that interaction.
And I mean, little old-fashioned things, Greg, when a young person looks you in the eye and shakes your hand is not looking at their phone all the time and genuinely is interested in what you want to say. When we've asked employers what they're looking for, because America has such a great diversity of universities and programs. I mean, politicians and the journalists sometimes give us a hard time, but it's no coincidence that the world wants to come here to study. And so if we just say we've got a good educational system, and then, but on top of that, what is it that employers want? It's actually very few times are they saying these are the technical things. I mean, someone who's taken computer science 4 years ago, they're having difficulty right now, getting employed because the world changed overnight. And so what are the attributes employer? We hear over and over, we want them to work hard. We want them to be polite. We want them to be self-starters. We want them to be entrepreneurial that we talked about. We want them to contribute to our success. And those softer skills are the things that I think a small university does really well, something Northwood does really well. When Mary Ellen and I, in the fall, we have the blessing to shake the hand of every first-year student, meet their parents. The parents are crying, well, unless it's their third child, and then it's like, please take him or her. But Mary Ellen will always say often to the fellow moms, we have 4 kids, she'll say, they'll be good, and we're going to send them home in 4 years fully cooked. And what she means by that is the overall experience of being on a very safe campus, rated the safest campus in Michigan. A campus, you walk through our campus, there's no graffiti, there's no protests going on. They're a serious group of students, and just the maturation that occurs over 4 years, sometimes 3 years, and maybe we'll get into that in terms of costs, but very proud that we now offer 3-year baccalaureate options for students. It makes it more affordable and gets them into the marketplace more quickly.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because I've always partially joked, because we've had interns at Reynolds for a very long time, and going back, this is kind of call it 15 years ago, and I was leading a sales team at the time, and we had a group of sales interns for the summer, which at the time was pretty novel. There weren't a lot of sales internships, and I found it to be very valuable for the students, also for our salespeople to understand what they're doing a little bit better, needing to mentor, and then as a leader also being able to work with young people and kind of grow from the beginning. Right. But anyhow, so we would have these interns, and we still do have these interns, and you give them opportunities to do things that maybe they wouldn't otherwise get the opportunity to do, and you see them grow. And by the end of the summer, usually, you say, boy, there's some talent here, and then you kind of joke and say, well, why can't they come out early? Why can't they just start working at the end of the summer? And it's a joke because, well, they wouldn't have a degree then. But then we make the analogy, athletes do it all the time. They can always go back and get a degree. I mean, if you can come out and start making money right away, why wouldn't you? And that's probably not the right decision. I'm not advocating for that. Like I said, it was partially joking. But hearing you say that you have a structured program that gets a student through in 3 years, that's really interesting to me. So joking aside, talk a little bit more about that and how that came about, how you structured it.
So it occurred to me, there were 2 guys who wrote an article. I won't take you deep into the depths of academia, but around 95, 96, Barr and Tagg were their authors. About 17 pages, but what I took away from it is a question. Does a university exist for the purpose of teaching, or does a university exist for the purpose of learning? If you can shift your mind to the outcomes of learning, it liberates you in terms of, is the best thing really to sit in a classroom for 15 weeks? Oh, and by the way, you have to show up in September, and we'll run it till December, and then you have to come back in January. Or what are some other ways that we can actually demonstrate that you've learned those items? And so if you hold that thought for a moment and then ask the question, what is happening that there's so much accumulated debt, tuition debt for students, and the cost continues to go up. So the affordability issue is real for a lot of students. So there's a couple ways we can do that. We can just, and we wouldn't agree with this, is just continue to give away money. We could lower tuition. That could be an option, but there are some other ways to do it. And when you think about learning differently, you can ask, does a degree need to be 4 years? The infrastructure of American higher ed, the unions, the academic senates, in terms of protectionism, we have to make sure that these low enroll programs continue to function, and faculty don't like me speaking about that.
Sure.
It's a challenge, and so what we believe is if Europe can have 3-year baccalaureates, pretty good schools over there.
Sure.
What is it that's so unique in America and Canada that you need to do 4 years? So we're testing out this against a lot of pressure. So that's one thing. Let's look at our programming differently based on outcomes and learning. That's one. Number two is, imagine you decide, let's say that you have reached the point you are in your career and you have had lots of experiences. You're going to now join Northwood. It is obscene for us not to honor the experiences and learning that you have had during your career. So the prior learning that you have done, how can we in a systematic way honor that and recognize? Again, do we exist for teaching, or do we exist for learning? And if it's learning, we can do a much better job of honoring that prior learning, something we call PLAR. So the tuition is one piece, but let's get students, give them a great experience, but not be framed that it has to be a 4-year experience. We can get you out early, you start making money more quickly, and you put all of those things together. I think it's something that Northwood has done very well. In fact, our cybersecurity program was the first to come out on these new 3-year degrees, and I think it has a big future.
Yeah.
The last thing, Greg, I'll just leave you with is, we want the students to finish their time at Northwood, but quite frankly, that's from our perspective. What about the student's perspective? And what if they were able, it would have a dream job to come to Reynolds, one of your 3 campuses.
Sure.
And if you needed that person, but they also want a degree, that they want to aspire maybe to get your job someday, and a degree can help them do that. Online learning really has changed, and so being able to be on campus is one approach, but being able to backfill it through online learning is another area. And there's no confusion. The learning experience is different online, but the outcomes, again, it's been clearly proven that it's an effective way to learn. And so just being more flexible, more student-oriented. Our approach at Northwood is we think we're going to win in the long game in doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. All right, Dr. MacDonald, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk some about the Center for Automotive and Mobility Service Studies. Sorry,
Yeah.
Automotive and Mobility Studies. There we go.
Yeah.
This has been a program that's been around for a long time. Obviously, some investment building out a new facility. We can talk about that. But share a little bit about the focus there, what the vision is for the center, and kind of how things are going.
Yeah. So none of us really enjoyed COVID.
No.
But it did give us an opportunity to kind of reflect and slow down. And so I had a conversation with our board. Our board is a very different board. We have 17 business people, no government employees. These are hardcore business people, no nonsense, very successful, who are great advisors to me and great trustees. And their advice was, having been at the forefront of automotive education for, at that time, 5.5, 6 decades, they said, as a business owner, if this was our company, you never give up an advantage that you have over other institutions. And it was that clarity of thought that we said, we're going to launch a new campaign, a comprehensive campaign. We've publicly come out with this to raise $100 million. We're at $78 million. And I am forever thankful to Chris Walsh and the Reynolds team for supporting that effort. And within that $100 million, and we will get there over the next year. In the end, it depends on where donors want their money to go, but we have earmarked $40 million of that for the automotive space, and we're going to say, let's double down on this. Let's make sure that we accomplish three things. We're going to have more scholarship money, private money, so any student who wants to be in the automotive space and they might not have the economic ability to do that, we're going to make it more affordable through supporters to Northwood. Number two is establish more endowed professors. So, I mean, I can leave the campus, and the university would function just fine if you don't have great faculty. I mean, you think back to your own experience. You don't remember who the president is. It's always the faculty. So, how do we make sure we can attract the best faculty? On top of that, though, buildings are important. In my view, they're secondary to those first two. Great students and great faculty, but you do need good facilities. So we're putting a $30 million extension in our CAMS program. So as you said, the Center for Automotive and Mobility Studies, and that's going to provide us a whole new set of opportunities for our students to learn. Within that will be our automotive program, our aftermarket program, and something we're launching this fall with great support from names like Penske and Hendricks and others, is motorsports a stream as well. So we just want companies and then people to think about, if I want to be in the automotive mobility, if it's auto sports, if it's retail, if it's OEMs, if it's aftermarket, that Northwood is the place that we need to go. They've got great faculty, great scholarships, great facilities. And by the way, I can do it full-time. I can do it online. We are actually, in January, launching the next intake for an MBA in automotive studies.
That's great.
So really, I mean, finance and account, all those things are going to be the same, but when you do your case studies and you do your research and you do your papers, you can wrap it around things happening within your industry, and I think it will help the industry in the end. So, yeah. So the Center for Automotive and Mobilities, we're proud of it, and we're excited about the future.
Yeah, I love that idea of doubling down on your advantages, right?
Yeah.
And I'll add to what you were saying about, you need great faculty, you need great students, but I do think that facilities matter a lot. And seeing you go through this new building project, I think there's a lot of foresight there. I don't know if you view it this way, but to me, a beautiful space, a beautiful building, a beautiful piece of architecture gives students and faculty a home, right? It gives them someplace to go because, like you said, the online experience is good, but it's not the same. Right, and having
it's
a great,
different for sure.
It is, and having a great place to physically be and be proud of. It gives you a home. It gives you an anchor. I would say it also serves as it sends a message, right? It serves as a symbol of, we're committed to this. This is the place to be if you want to be in automotive. And when you invest that type of resource into a building, into a facility, it states that loud and clear to faculty, so you can get the best faculty, and to students, so you can get the best students, and frankly to the industry, so the industry recognizes Northwood and that reinforcement that Northwood is the university for automotive studies. So I do think that the physical space the value of it can't be understated.
And I agree with that. If it's focused, I like to call it gathering space, or this, when this new edition is finished, we want people to come in and say, we've arrived at America's automotive learning place right here. And there's going to be images and symbols within that place where students can gather, have informal conversations, that the classrooms will have the proper technology for our faculty, etc. And when I mean around facilities that I'm less supportive of is, there are articles where some institutions have had competitions on who's going to build the highest climbing wall. We're going to put in a lazy river. We're a very frugal institution. Our money is going to go into what's going to make the experience even greater. We have 500 acres. We're built in the woods. It's a peaceful, calm, lovely place. And I agree with you. If you're going to have the best talent for the industry, students want to come into a place that they feel this is really wonderful. No different than the first time I went through your innovation center. It changed the way I viewed Reynolds. It changed the way I viewed the industry, just having that personal experience. And I do think we can do that at Northwood through our classrooms, our new conference center, our residences, and that type of thing. Yeah, and beyond that, just the peaceful pathways that students can and just have time to grow and think and make friends.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I love it. You mentioned something not too long ago here about students that want to be in the automobile space, in the automotive industry. Yeah. And that's an important word, want to be, because I think about an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe I shouldn't say kid, but young adult. Yeah. And are there that many that really want to be in any industry, right? Yeah. You don't know until you have a few experiences. So thinking about that, and thinking about specifically in the retail world, so a car dealer. Yeah. I love this industry. I love car dealerships. I love retail, and just knowing the opportunities that are available in our industry. Certainly with companies like Reynolds, but specifically in the retail space. Yeah. What are your thoughts? How do we get young people to want to be a part of that? Is it just exposure? Is it how do we bring them in? Because there's so many talented individuals, right? And you at Northwood are doing a great job attracting a lot of talent. But more globally, how do we as an industry pull in that talent and make them develop that want, right? Yeah. How do we help them want to be a part of our industry?
It's a great question, and it's an important one because not only do we have to expose them, I think in some cases we have to overcome a perception of what the industry might be. And so, if I were to group our students into three areas, we do have dealer principal children coming to Northwood, sure. so they're covered. We have people whose mom or dad may be the service manager, so they've been exposed in a way to the industry. There's a love of automobiles and car, and those students are out there. I think that's another group, but fundamentally, you've nailed it. You need to expose them to the industry. That to say it's vast, it's a massive market, it's important to not only the economy, but I think the culture. I mean, vehicles, in my view, are a tool for freedom. They represent freedom in this country because of the vastness. I mean, all you need to think about is, a grandmother or grandfather who can't drive anymore, and you hear them talk about, I've lost my freedom. And so, on top of the retail aspect, you have the fixed op side and all the things that your viewers would know about. Mm-hmm. F&I, you have all the technology side. I mean, Reynolds, in my view, I know what you do. This is a world-class technology company in many ways, as I see it. So when students start to be exposed by that, that's why so many of our students who come to Northwood and start studying marketing and cybersecurity and computer science, etc., and then they're exposed to this industry, they often will say, I had no idea. So we do play a role of that, and we're proud of it. And so it's not a secondary thing on our campus. That when you come to Northwood, you're exposed to the whole plethora of what happens in the OEM, in the retail, and other areas. So I think exposure. I know for certain that we have one young boy named Kuzma, originally from Ukraine, and he joined us on our tennis team when everything was happening over there. And I saw him just a couple of days ago, and I said, Kuzma, what's happening? He's in retail at a local dealer selling cars, and he absolutely loves it. He loves the culture. He loves the competitiveness, where a lot of our athletes, do fall in that.
Sure.
And Kuzma didn't come to Northwood with any idea that this is something that he wants to spend his career on. So it's multi-layered, it's exposure, it's being proud of it, being connected to so many leaders like Reynolds in the marketplace, internships to allow them to experience it, our job fairs. We have dozens and dozens of employers wanting to come to North. You don't have to, but we do have private jets flying up from Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina trying to hire our students because they've been exposed to the industry. And this is an industry, we did the roundtable yesterday when we were here. It's remarkable how many people have been at Reynolds for 15 years, 25 years, or Dave leaving shortly, 40 years.
Yeah.
So, it's... Once you get your hooks in these students, it's a place that they want to be. They realize the importance to the economy, but also the opportunities once they're in it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Dr. MacDonald, I could talk to you probably for a couple of days straight if we had enough water and brought some food in. But I want to be really respectful of your time. I appreciate you sitting down with me. Before we wrap, is there anything that we didn't touch on that we should have, or any questions I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, I would just say, look. We're private. We don't take money from the government. We rely on tuition to survive, and we're doing a good job there. We have no debt, and we rely on partners. Reynolds is a great partner. We have a number of great partners out there, and some contribute by wonderful $5 million gifts like Reynolds made to Northwood. Others have committed scholarship money to allow students to stay at Northwood. Our industry partners allow students to have jobs. The whole ecosystem, I can't be thankful enough. And so that would be the big message, is to be thankful to Reynolds and our partners across the country, up into Canada, even over in Europe, for believing in us, mostly believing in our students. They're spectacular young people. And if you ever have any doubt about young people today, I like to say you need to come spend some time at Northwood. They will make people proud, and there's a good future for the country. So I appreciate being here with you and spending time.
Absolutely. Thank you. We'll have to do it again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Come see us.
All right, we'll do.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dr. Kent MacDonald, president of Northwood University. I certainly appreciate him coming down and talking. We had a great conversation, so I hope you got something out of it. Before we hop off, don't forget you can watch or listen to all episodes of Connected on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. And make sure to hit subscribe so you're notified every other week when new episodes are released. Thanks so much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.